Hello, everybody. Welcome to the third episode of Simplifying Real Estate, a monthly podcast series by Aris Uniturn. I'm your host, Rekha. In this series, we speak to seasoned developers and industry experts to find out what it takes to be successful in this very dynamic field of real estate. Today, we have Angad Bedi, the Managing Director of BCD Group, one of India's oldest and largest construction conglomerate. Angad, under the visionary leadership of Angad, the group has done phenomenally well. It has diversified into global markets. Even from it has moved from construction to development, and with a large working force. We are very honored to have Angad with us. Thank you so much, Angad, for being our guest. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rekha. Thank you for having us here. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Let me start, the first question being stepping into this legacy led role. You are a chartered accountant, worked with Big Fours. How were your initial days and what kind of, triggered you to take this leadership role?
So I think I joined business early before going into education right out of college back in 2005 when I was freshly out of school and early days of college. And I started being groomed into business and understanding what is the construction side of business and the operational challenges. And I was traveling the country from, Delhi to Bombay to Bangalore and just to see more than understand and work. It was an experience about what we call as an early day training. But as a family coming off a professional background, it was told that you need to complete your education before you really get into the helm of business. So 2007 and 8, I took a sabbatical from the business to go back and complete my chartered accountancy.
Okay.
Not that education was my forte,
But you got all A levels, that's what I heard.
it was just one of those things. I was lucky to crack it in the first time.
Wonderful.
And while doing so, just to get an experience in the hand of understanding the corporate side of culture, because contracting and the professional side of business were two very contrary fields. So coming from a professional background, I started my training with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then we went into KPMG as a team because there was a merger of the department I was with. And from cross-border M&As to taxations to understanding what we call as corporate restructuring, there's a lot of learning in terms of the other side of the world, what we call it, in terms of how a professional perceives it outside on a desk job, then whether as a contractor or a businessman or a manufacturing company does it on ground. So there are two different parallel worlds. One is on the advisory side, one is on the effective execution sides. So I think it gave me a good base in terms of opening my mind, in terms of exploring what are the other opportunities which could be built along with our business, how we could professionalize it, and how we could take it to the next level. And I think those were the key learnings which helped me transform my construction business into today. We are into 7-8 verticals. We have our own AIF. We are into real estate development.
Yes.
We have student housing. We have our bespoke homes, which we are doing in luxury houses. Also, we have a very niche segment in senior living, which is one of the India's first rental accommodations for seniors. A brand called
Absolutely.
BCD Vanaprastha.
Yes. I mean, you have completely transformed BCD as a multifaceted reality conglomerate, and I'm sure the foundation was all set. I mean, you came into business early on, went back into education, got that foundation really right, and then when you came back, you really transformed it. What was that journey like? Where did it all start? What was the vision when you started? When you came back and said that this is how it's going to be for the next decade for BCD.
So, to put it simply and bluntly, construction has been bread and butter for all of us for a long time, fourth generation doing a similar nature of work. But somewhere coming from a corporate side of learning as well as seeing things differently, construction per se did not just suit the fulfillment of what I could contribute into the organization. Though there was organizationally a big team with us, and labor force of today, we are about a team of 5,500 people working under us all around the country. But we could see this transform into something else as a developer, as getting our learnings, because construction, what we felt, was a backbone.
Yes.
It was a vertical, and as a real estate developer, there is a bigger paraphernalia which comes out over there. We then decided then there are something, as the market transformed from 2013 to 18, it was a very generic environment what we saw earlier. It was square footages. We would see people, just launch projects like 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. They were generic terms, and nobody really understood the industry. It was more of like, it's a house, it's this much square footage, this is the location, and people would buy it. But over a period of time, when the consumer and the customer got evolved in learning what he could ask for, what is the way it is done, what is his rights into, buying it as a home buyer, he started asking for more.
Yes.
And to give him that more, we started also targeting in terms of what the customer need would be. So, student housing is something which came in, like people were just coming in from their homes all across the countries, and this was a very unorganized sector. Fewer campuses, people staying in PGs, people staying outside in an environment which was not very holistic in terms of the development. So something which came as a structured for a particular use, what we call as purpose-built assets, started getting evolved with us as our strategy along the way. So from co-living homes to senior livings, studenting, I think as the industry evolved, to be ahead of the curve, we started evolving, products along the way.
Oh, fascinating. You were talking about your 5,500 workforce. As a leader, at the helm of all these affairs, how do you keep your staff or workforce happy and productive?
So somewhere where I see it is, as in the contracting angle, it is that I am working to keep that organization alive in terms who have been with us for almost 3 decades, 4 decades now.
Yes.
I'm very proud to say that we are one of the few companies where a second generation works with us. So, it's very heartening to see in an office, the father is also there, the son is also working with us, or the nephews and the second generation are inside, they're managing stores, somebody's in accounts, somebody's in the engineering division. So it became more of like a family organization which grew organically. Rather than professionalizing it on the top and, running it, that it became where my team and the leadership kind of grows it like their own in-house company. So it's a very hands-on built company wherein the labor force who has been with us for many, many decades, understanding their needs, understanding their problems, and providing them a better lifestyle, timely payments, giving them healthcare, giving them insurance, giving them the right, timely payments which is required to sustain what we call as, the cash flow, which is much needed at their end than our problems, which we keep rising up, started building as a community. So then they all started with like few hundreds, and then their families and their extended families, and then, different part of the country. Like my carpenters coming from West Bengal, my unskilled comes in from UP, I have all my bar benders from Orissa. So one after the other, they all started as, small foremans, then who become PRWs, who become like gang leaders of each one having about 300-400 workers. So they all grew with us.
How wonderful. Tell me, as the MD of the group, and during this entire journey, what were maybe a management, so what I wanted to ask is, one of the lessons that you would have kind of an experience that you've had very early on that kind of shaped your leadership style? Would you be able to share any experience or any anecdote that you would want our audience to,
I think,
hear?
It's small, but a particular incident that in 2007-8 in Bangalore only, and Jakur was just developing. We were constructing a project, and early days, so, I was leaving the site and going, and then just 300 meters off the site, there is what we call as the small Kriana shops.
Yes.
And it was flooded with our own team members wearing BCD jackets. So, it was thronging with laborers over there in the evening. Just happened to stop there and meet that person for a coffee because I was with a site colleague. And I just asked him that what is, all of this, like my site people over here. So, you know, it was him basically who told us, sir, you don't realize that when these people are coming here, they are living on daily wages. It's by Monday to Sunday, they're able to exhaust their cash flows. They come in with a small, plastic bag to take their oil. They take their F&B supplies, and the environment, over here in terms of the colony, how they stay. So if you don't give them their weekly allowance, their food allowance on a Saturday, what we call as a kharchi, on time, and people skip that, and then people want to do monthly payments, these people cannot run. And in turn, people like us give them credit on a weekly, fortnightly, so that they can just get their basic food and supplies in place. So that was a very heartening story, which kind of shook me, that when we are sitting in the office and when we have these payments to do and all of this, we're looking at our internal cash flow. But when you look at our team and our people over there who really need it just for a basic F&B need, and just basic, providing and sending that little $1,500 or $2,000 back into their hometown. And that's how the country grows, the economy grows, the GDP grows, that it's these people who are migrant, they come and stay here, they earn here, and they send their money back to rural India. Right. So this, and then, learning more about it kind of shook me at my core in a way that you have to be more humane in the decisions. Yes. You need to plan better. You need to have your own checks and balances, that despite if as a client, if you're not paid or whatever may be the issues, but this provision for your labor force, your team, your staff has to be there. And you need to have a buffer for about 5-6 months, that even in challenging times like COVID, 2 years in touchwood, we can say that not a single labor, not a single staff has got any reductions. 6 months sites have been stopped. 3,000, 4,000 people have got their full base. It was not more about nobility or CSR, it was just the right thing to do. And I think this sort of things have turned around in terms of a good loyal workforce, in terms of their own honesty, which kind of makes us.
Excellent and very heartwarming, and I'm sure that is why you are very proud to have the first generation and the second generation coming back to work with you. Right. In fact, I wanted to ask you, you were talking about Bangalore and Jakur. That makes me ask, what made you choose Bangalore as your base? I mean, you're a Delhi guy. Mumbai is where the action is, and you come and settle down in Bangalore.
So I would say that today we are an Indian as well as a global enterprise, also based out of Delhi and Dubai. But when I came in early days of 2000, and how the situation of NCR and Bombay is, though it is growing, I felt that there is phenomenal opportunity in Bangalore to develop to be what a Delhi and Bombay is, and the opportunity was larger with us being the first entrance into the city, and enjoy that pride that today, touchwood, we can say that almost all the big CBD projects in Bangalore, from Brigade Road to Banaswadi to Marathali, Outer Ring Road, and key city centers, Koramangala, Level Road, we are developing all of those assets. So it's something very exciting to be building, what we are saying is the new upcoming town. The skyline is set to change, and a decade earlier is when it all started really here in the city. And I feel the next decade is a phenomenal growth which is to be seen here. So as a contractor, we are there in Chennai, we are there in Raipur, we are there in Lucknow, we are there in Bombay, in Delhi as well, apart from the other smaller cities. But our development, our all of these purpose-built assets, our deployment of our resources in terms of our fund is very large here. So that kind of keeps me entrenched in the city.
Nice. I wanted to also ask, BCD is also coming with the largest SEBI-regulated AIF fund to cater to the distressed real estate projects. Would you like to say something more about this?
So I would say this was a peculiar situation I got myself into, and I was working with a large corporate, and in the middle of it, it decided to kind of close its business midway. And I was having a township which I was building as a contractor. And I did not see the logic, but I'm sure the promoters would have had their reasons. And being a contractor, I saw it was a 1,000 unit which was underway with a 55-acre development along the way which needed to be completed. And we had investors, customers from all over the globe. And I did not find it the right decision in my heart for it to be abandoned, like, how many projects in NCR, in Bombay, across the country, because of various reasons, financial meltdown, promoter issues, has been stuck. So I was also, as a contractor, having a bill stuck out there. And I felt the pragmatic way was for me to kind of step in, to take bigger responsibility and finish the project, though it was not our core, and then do what it takes to hand over to the people who are invested into it and give it a logical end. I think that personal journey, which was around 2018-19, where it was more of a crisis, and I turned it around in terms of a positive end, which became a turnaround for our company in terms of, coming in and partnering what we called as stress assets, and being one of the few people who have capital at our end. We have financial bandwidth, and we have a very large construction force. So when we are able to convert a stuck project into a commodity which is housing, it has got value. Midway, it's a negative liability, either for the investors, bankers, promoters. So it felt like it was being a right thing to be done more than a business angle of it.
I think you're one of those people who kind of converts every challenge into an opportunity. There are lessons learned, but you also.
It's an all hard decision, which kind of moves me to do the things. Sometimes it may not go well with my company and my team. They don't think the rationale about it, but sometimes it's the gut call what you got to take in that moment, that you feel that this may be in the longer run the positive end to a particular solution rather than struggling and fighting it out. So that kind of over the period of time led to a second, third, fourth opportunity in terms of we coming on board as partners and with capital to people who were not able to start their projects, who were stuck in the middle of it. And then when we realized there is a larger opportunity there in the country, so we partnered with NICES, a financial company in Bombay, in terms of floating our own AIF with 500 crores and a green shoe of 700 to make it 700. And where we felt that about 4,000-5,000 crores worth of assets will get resolved. So we wanted to put a bigger community with us. As a single guy could only do 3, so we're hoping to do about 10 to 15 resolution of these situations. And it's good for the country, it's good for the development, it's a resolution to everybody out there. It's a risky investment, no doubt, but what we come in with our expertise, I find it as a zero risk opportunity. I mean, there is absolutely, because we collateralize all of it under us in terms of putting in the capital and putting in the expertise to complete it. And after that, then it's a positive asset. So then everybody gets a win-win by the end of it. Though the fair share of profits, which hypothetically some promoter would have been calculating, but at least it's not a negative liability running on him in any form. So that kind of led from that formative, decision of the turnaround in the project to partnering with NICES for our AIF, and we've already deployed in 2 large projects, one in Gujarat, one in Hyderabad, and set the ball in motion.
Wonderful. Tell me about your partnership with Aris Uniturn. How did that collaboration happen, and maybe some of the projects that you're working together with?
Before Aris Uniturn, Naveen and Srini both are phenomenal people with extreme, industry knowledge, and they come with intensive, training and background on both of their sides. And I was the most excited one when, they took this decision to float Uniturn back in the day, almost about 3 years back. And our formative things was between them and us, Uniturn and us, we kind of fit everything right. They are professionals who lead the pack with professional management. They've got capital access, they've got materials which they provide, and they're able to again handhold a lot of new developers, take the project to the end. And back end, where we felt as a contracting arm to them in-house in terms of being a back end, wherever they are going ahead and pitching themselves, we kind of have a full 360-degree solution for anybody out there. And as a professional approach, real estate was a promoter-driven business which was done for capital, outlays or IRRs and multiples and to make wealth. But as now, post-COVID, pre-COVID, we see it's a professional pay. You really need to understand it as professional doctors, as professional lawyers, as chartered accountants to be able to run this industry and survive. So I think the merger of synergy between the talent, their vision, their values, their focus, all aligned perfectly with us. And I think we are doing 6-7 large projects with them in different hats, back end and forth end. And I think all of them are, standing success stories, which the market is seeing today in terms of the delivery we have got on ground, the speed of construction we are bringing into the thing, the management of accounts, the discipline with how things are run. It's an example we have set, I would proudly say.
Wonderful, wonderful. What has been one of your special or pet projects? If you could just recall one of the projects that has been a true, something which is very close to your heart.
So, as a challenging one, we were involved with building the Delta Electronics, which builds these iPhones and all factory. It was a 2 million square feet facility for a Fortune 500 company. And this came in the year of early 2000, just when COVID had hit. And at that point of time, I required 3,000 laborers to be at a point location in those challenging circumstances in Tamil Nadu, Krishnagiri, where it was a very, very, challenging time, I would say, that particular year to the next year. And being a foreign client with PMCs from China, it became all the more, challenging because the counterparties could not have come in and there was cross-border regulations for the visas to be given. At that point of time, taking that responsibility to complete that particular project ahead of schedule and having finished an RCC building of 2 million square feet in a 13 to 14 months flat time, I felt like that was very fulfilling. And also when everybody in migrant labors, if you remember in April 2020, they were all running back. I was having inverse migration. So because they were saying, because we are able to sustain them, we are able to pay them on time, we are able to manage them. When people were thronging back, all of those people converged back into us at a point location, and we housed them. We provided F&B to them, water, healthcare. We put doctors for them in the place. And I think we set a new standard there in the industry.
Wow. What is the future for BCD? I mean, you seem to be thriving. I mean, what are your future plans, especially with the trends that is happening in real estate? Because that's also, going to be, is phenomenal for the next decade or so. So,
I personally see, I think 2022 or maybe 23 is the tipping start of the India's golden decade. Russia has had it, China has had it, all the UK, we know the situation. I think India is thriving. I think there is phenomenal development which is going to happen in our country. There is housing which is going to be built. There is infrastructure that is going to be built. The quality of assets which are now being built now since our global office is there in Dubai. The expertise we are bringing in from our global partnerships in terms of design, in terms of the technology, in terms of, the whole professionalism from the Middle East back over here to be ahead of schedule, to improve the quality of play. I think we are looking at a golden decade of a transformed India.
yes.
And we're happy to be participative in the journey of it, and we can play a little contributor part to build a better country.
Exciting times ahead.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's the professional side of it. We also want to know a little bit about Angad as a family man. How do you unwind? What are your hobbies?
I have 2 boys,
Okay.
5 and 9,
Lovely.
turning out to be naughty. One is Jairaj, one is Ekam. And spending time with them along with my wife Jasna in Delhi, because they're studying there becomes my kind of a hobby because limited time because of travel all over the country, family time, along with my, close connections of few friends, that becomes kind of a hobby for me now.
Okay.
I don't see much time space to be speaking of other activities. You had a fair share of a younger childhood in terms of living those past dreams. I think work and family takes most of my schedule today.
Do you play any sports, or did you have a
think
fascination for
more
something
than the
at some
sports,
time?
It becomes like to catch up with a friend. If you would
Yes.
call me for a round of golf,
Okay.
then it's more about catching up with him, and spending time and learning and exchanging too, because time is a very scarce commodity today. So that becomes more of it. Golf becomes an avenue for it.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I also have a small rapid fire. This is very simple, silly questions, but we get to know a little bit more about what you like and dislike. Very simple ones. The first one: are you a Bollywood person or a Hollywood fan?
Hollywood.
Okay. You like coffee or tea?
Coffee all the way.
All the way. Okay. Are you an adventure sports person, or would you prefer a relaxing spa?
Relaxation all the time.
All the
I think
time.
we play enough adventure in the business.
Sure. Are you do you read, or do you like listening to podcast?
To be honest, time is there for neither. But if given a choice, I'm a hearing person more than a reading person. Back days, studies have taken too much
Too much of.
mental bandwidth to be reading it again. I guess it reminds me of my schooling days.
I'm sure podcast is the way forward.
Absolutely.
Sure. That's a wrap, Angad. Thank you so much for being our
you,
guest
Rekha.
and being our host.
Absolute
It's
pleasure.
been wonderful. To the audience, thank you so much for being on our show and listening to us. All our efforts are towards simplifying real estate, and every month we bring to you industry leaders or a seasoned developer who can actually talk to you about the lessons that he has had and the journey he has experienced. So continue listening to us. Until next time, bye bye.